What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. In today's video, I think we're gonna be doing something pretty exciting. So you probably clicked on this because you're thinking about upgrading your vintage mountain bike, or you're looking to get one to upgrade. I have a couple of vintage mountain bikes that are set up very different. They're 26-inch, they're steel. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for a short loop, switch bikes midway through, and in doing so, we're gonna illustrate a few different things that you should look out for when you're upgrading a vintage mountain bike. Let's get into it right away. I think the first thing that you should think about is, like, what do you want to use the bike for? Is it for road riding and gravel? Is it for commuting? Is it for bike packing and maybe some light touring? Is it for trail riding, like on mountain bike trails that are relatively mellow? Just keep that in mind as you start to think about building up the bike. So the first thing that we're gonna look out for, does it have eyelets or things to mount fenders in a rack? So this bike doesn't have any eyelets at the dropouts, mid blade on the fork, halfway down the seat stay, or on the rear dropout. So what that means is that this bike was probably designed originally for cross-country racing, trail riding, specifically without commuting in mind. It doesn't have provisions for mounting fenders. So here is the Specialized Hard Rock. What I want to point out on this bike is that it has mounting points on the fork here for a fender. Also, we have mounting points here on the back for a rear rack and also for fenders. So this bike is pretty well equipped if you wanted to do some commuting or some light touring. All right, so the next thing that you want to look out for, tip number 2, is cable routing. What kind of provisions or guides does your frame have for cable routing for the different brakes or derailleurs that you're thinking about running? So for instance, if I wanted to run V-brakes on this frame, what I might have to do is change the setup here for the different derailleur and brake cables so that I can get the brake cable on this side so that I can make sure that it routes directly into the V-brake noodle. It's rear derailleur on the bottom, brake, this cantilever brake in the middle, and then the front derailleur up here. And so I might have to switch these two cables if I wanted to run V-brakes, which I kind of want to do eventually. You can see how this sets the cable directly through the middle, and that's perfect for a center pull brake. But you would have to get the cable on this side if you wanted to run a V-brake. So that's just something to look out for. This bike, you could set it up with V-brakes, but some bikes have a braze on here that guides the cable and puts it directly in the middle, and there's nothing up here so that you can't put like a piece of housing there. So that makes it really complicated. My brother's Specialized Hard Rock has that, and we were trying to upgrade it to V-brakes, and I didn't know that the frame was set up like that. I didn't see any photos of the frame before. Otherwise, I would have recommended against it. The third thing to look out for is what kind of steer does the bike have? So this bike has a 1 1/8 inch head tube. So bikes started to adopt this 1 1/8 inch head tube just because, you know, a mountain bike takes a lot of abuse, and the 1 inch head tube sometimes flexes a little bit. So this is a stiffer setup for mountain biking. So it has a quill stem, the fork is threaded, the quill goes into the top of the steer, and it clamps down using this bolt. Now this bike has a 1 inch steer, so it's a 1 inch quill stem. You'll also sometimes see 1 1/8 inch threadless systems and 1 inch threadless systems. So you basically just need to pay attention to what kind of steer your bike has so that you know how to get a stem that you might want to use if you want to source a new stem, or just how to figure out what kind of handlebars are going to run. You'll need to also take a look at the clamp diameter of your stem. There's different clamp sizes, so you just got to double check and make sure that yours fits. So the next thing to pay attention to is the Seatpost diameter. So most road bikes or modern bikes have a 27.2 Seatpost, but this one is a 26.2. For some reason, vintage mountain bikes have a lot of really random sizes for the seat tubes. This is a 29.2 seat tube, I think, or 29.8. It's either 29.2 or 29.8, but that's not a common size. And so you got to pay attention to what Seatpost diameter you have. You got to just make sure that it is the right size so that it fits your frame. Also, you should pay attention if you're gonna buy it from Craigslist or from eBay, or if you're gonna upgrade a bike that's been sitting around for a long time, check to see if the stem and the seat post are seized in the frame. And what I mean is, if you loosen these bolts, will they actually come out? Because sometimes, due to corrosion, due to bad weather, due to there not being enough grease or the grease getting washed out over time, these parts, if they're aluminum and the frame is steel, they'll basically chemically bond together, and it can become really hard to take them out of the frame. All right, guys, I'm just about done with my ride and with my tips for upgrading a vintage mountain bike. If there's anything that you thought I might have missed or you'd like to know more about, please leave me a comment in the comment section. I'd be happy to do another video on it. I love upgrading vintage mountain bikes, and I'm sure you guys do as well. If you haven't already, please consider giving this video a like or subscribing to my channel. There's gonna be more bike content coming up. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Peace.